Good morning, everyone. It's Kybon the Renegade. I'm back here bringing you something we've kind of done before, but not totally. So you remember how all that time ago I made a video about Goku being a good father, and I tried to say that at the end of the video that we would be doing Goku's character arc next week? Oh, that was a fucking laugh and a half, huh, guys? So I'm not actually going to be doing Goku's character arc. Instead, I found something that I think I can actually really contribute to, and that's the writing of the fights in Dragon Ball. So anybody can talk about Goku's character arc and pretty easily get a good understanding of what it is that he goes through, especially if they read the manga. But personally, I think the anime does a really good job of telling the story through its fight scenes, kind of like Toriyama does, but adds a whole lot more complexity to it to make them explosive and interesting and exciting. Honestly, I find it pretty laughable whenever I see someone say, Dragon Ball is carried by cool fights and nostalgia, the story is never really important. Because as a writer, I get to write fights all the time in my book series, Godly. Links in the description. And the thing about fights is that they are in fact an isolated story in themselves. A fight is technically a single or occasionally multiple defined narratives that can serve multiple purposes. It can be a grand finale or an introduction, the perfect resolution to a problem, or the ultimate unending nightmare. And those are things that can be told entirely without words using the show don't tell method of displaying action. And all that is only one of the major functions of fights. The other big purposes they can generally serve include, but aren't limited to, set pieces, defining a character's feats or capabilities, trying to make a character appear one way on the surface and then show their true colors in action, and this one in particular is usually either in the villain reveal or hidden moron stalking badass tropes, but can take a lot of different forms. Or even outright changing the narrative entirely through the adjustment of a character's goals or understanding. But you probably already knew a lot of that internally, right? So why bring it up? Well, because I think a lot of fights are more than just narrative tools to make characters look cool and show off some superpowers or neat aspects of your world. When they're done well, fights can make something iconic that you'll remember for the rest of your life. Maybe some of the details fade, but the majority of what you liked about it sticks to your memory like glue. Fights are storytelling, and I'd like to dispute the argument with 3 examples. First is Goku vs. Jackie Chun at the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament. Second is Goku vs. Tien Shinhan at the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament. And third is Piccolo Jr. at the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament. These 3 fights define the original Dragon Ball narratively and show Goku's growth as a character more than practically any other point in the series combined. These 3 fights were the first closing of Goku's original main character arc. He did have other minor ones during original Dragon Ball, but this was the one that set the base for all the rest to branch out from, and the story of these 3 tournaments is Goku's journey of understanding the world and his place in it. Now I know what you're thinking. Hold on there, Kyobin. You're telling me 3 fights are how Goku came to understand the world? And the answer is no, of course not. These 3 fights are all the culmination of everything Goku learned, and can perfectly summarize how his journey progression began, went, and ended, as the epitome of what Goku and Dragon Ball stand for. These 3 fights don't go together. Each of them stand on their own when looked at only as fights. What ties them together is that these are what truly defines Goku as a character and Dragon Ball as a series. But that's enough huffing and puffing. The first video is supposed to be about Goku vs. Jackie Chun, so let's dive into it. So let's start with a quick summary of Dragon Ball up to this point so we're all on the same page. If you're watching this video, I assume you know who Goku is, so I'm gonna pass over him. But this is Master Roshi, an elderly martial artist and hermit known to associate with turtles. Goku learned how to fight from an early age from his grandpa, but when he died, Goku just sorta hung out in the mountains waiting for the Bulma to show up. Goku's cool but really strong, and so Master Roshi decides to take the boy under his wing. Goku's training with Master Master Roshi shows the old man his indomitable spirit, and Roshi can tell Goku is something special. He's not just strong, he's pure of heart, innocent to his core, a funny monkey boy, and an especially talented fighter. Roshi has been training for over 300 years, and he immediately sees that Goku is poised to overtake him. But Roshi's basically the world's strongest, as far as he knows. So he realizes that if he enters Goku in the Tenkaichi Budokai, that the little monkey man is probably gonna win it if someone else really strong doesn't show up to slap him down. So Roshi decides to put on a wig, take off his iconic sunglasses, and put his pupil in place by himself, because he doesn't want Goku to get complacent and grow bored with fighting. He recognizes that that young man is the future of martial arts, and he has to do his job as a teacher and get his student hungry to learn, instead of being hungry for dinner. So the entire fight here tells a singular narrative of Master Roshi trying to make Goku not win the tournament, right? Well, that establishes a few things before we even start the match. First, Goku, even as a 12-year-old boy, is the favorite to win this tournament. Keep that one in mind, because it's true for the other two fights as well. Second, it shows why Master Roshi is so determined to win, why he focuses on victory more than learning or having fun as he suggests Krillin and Goku should do, and why he seems to be hardly trying in previous fights. Roshi shows he's the best of the best, not just in this fight, but also in the previous fights by making quick work of weaker opponents and conserving his energy. And the last point this story establishes is that both these characters are already essentially on what they believe to be the grandest of stages. Both Roshi and Goku view themselves as some of the strongest fighters in the world, and this not only teaches Goku just how much he has left to learn, but also teaches Roshi how much farther he can go, and more importantly, how much farther Goku is going to go. So now we can actually get into what you're here for, the storytelling of the actual fight. So again, before the fight even begins, the fighters get interviewed by our favorite announcer. He asks Goku what his strategy is, but I would call it incomplete at best. This perfectly encapsulates a huge difference between our fighters already. They're both strong, but Goku isn't someone to think things through. Fighting Jackie Chun helps teach him how to do that, but we'll go over that a little more later. Roshi doesn't divulge his strategy and instead pretends to be asleep. This helps make him look unprepared to the untrained eye, but Goku knows better than to not take him seriously. The drum beats until the gong sounds, raising anticipation for the upcoming battle, and then it's time to begin. We start off quickly with Roshi charging Goku, and Goku leaps out of the way, so Roshi leaps with great skill and manages to pick Goku right out of the sky with a powerful kick. This sends an immediate message to the viewer that Goku and Roshi are on different playing fields when it comes to skill. Goku is sent flying off into the sky, and Goku has already been told he's not allowed to use the flying Nimbus again earlier in the tournament. Unfortunately for Roshi, he didn't kick him down toward the ground, giving Goku enough time to think. Just when Roshi finishes celebrating, the crowd gets disappointed, and a guy in the crowd calls out Goku, flying back using his tail as a little propeller. This illustrates just how adaptable Goku is to the viewer, while simultaneously putting him on the back foot to recover. Goku is pretty used to that though, so he's not really deterred. There's another joke here about Roshi being Jackie Chun that's pretty funny, but I'm gonna pass over all of that for today. This joke leads to the first beam struggle in the series, but it's a pretty unimpressive one. Still cool that this is where it all really started though, and interesting that it ended up in a stalemate. That helps show that our fighters are on a dangerously close level of play, and are likely to be able to put out similar damage, at least with their ki. So interestingly, Goku has yet to become a combat genius in full and realize what all this means, because he's fighting on his instinct and his training, instead of having fully observed everything that went on in the last few moments. More interestingly, this is the starting strike of the hammer of doubt over Roshi that will be hammering away at him this entire fight. Can he beat his student, or is he going to fail like the rest? So Roshi decides to bust out an old favorite and use the after image, but Goku complains that he's already seen this technique, referring to Roshi's fight with Krillin. So Goku thinks he's seen through it, but adding a little twist of another after image threw him off guard and let Roshi get a free kick, smashing Goku through a wall. Goku does his thing and gets up, and then comes at Roshi with a triple after image. This lets Goku smash him hard right over the head, and reinforces the idea that they're on the same level of play, but now Roshi's starting to get serious. So here's a tip about combat and fighting strategy. When you need to take the defensive but still make some sizable damage, a great strategy is to stop and mix up your attacks. Master Roshi is an elderly master, so for him, changing fighting styles on a whim can be amazingly effective. So Roshi decides to mix it up and use the Drunken Fist technique. Not only is this comical, which this fight has been in spades, but also lets him entirely throw Goku off guard and strike without warning. That's part of what really sets these fighters apart. Experience and a willingness to use deception. Hilariously, Goku even says he's familiar with it, saying it's one of his grandpa's specialties. I guess Grandpa Gohan liked hitting the bottle every now and again. Anyway, Roshi continues throwing Goku off and getting free hit after free hit, so Goku takes a moment to think about it and realizes what Roshi did. Roshi taunts him by saying it's hard to fight while pretending to be drunk if you've never been drunk before, and this is a great moment where we get to see Goku's genius developing as a fighter when he employs the crazy monkey technique, a strategy he knows plenty well. Monkeys are known mischief makers, and Goku is directly based off Sun Wukong, a monkey statue turned god known as an infamous trickster. And Goku actually fills the role of a trickster quite nicely himself. So by climbing wildly, moving on all fours, and scratching viciously like a monkey, Goku is able to put Roshi back on the back foot like the old master had thought of himself from the beginning. Now, despite not copying the Drunken Fist, Goku has shown that he can mix up without issue as well, showcasing his ultimate strength of adaptation. Roshi gets up in a fury, ready to hypnotize his student and put him to sleep. Roshi knows that Goku won't be able to withstand a psychic attack, so he manages to put him down to sleep, further showing his experience and varied toolset. Plus, this is a technique Goku will never be able to copy, making it an actually pretty brilliant move. So Bulma shouts out to Goku and tells him the one thing that will always get him out of bed. Goku gets up and looks for it without hesitation, really showcasing just how funny Toriyama can be, even with such an intense setting. Next, Goku goes through his entire Janken Fist combo, but Master Roshi handles all three of them because Janken Fist was one of Grandpa Gohan's signature techniques. Goku finally shows he's not afraid to trick his opponent by saying the wrong move and calling paper, but punching with rock, punching Master Roshi in the nose and making his nose bleed. Roshi realizes he's essentially out of options and uses the Lightning Flash surprise attack. This attack brings forward a struggle for both Goku and Roshi that's pretty narratively interesting. Goku wants to tough out the pain and still win while his friends are sitting there begging for him to give up so he doesn't die. But Roshi has to be ready to decide when to stop so he doesn't accidentally kill the future of the Turtle School. After all, a student like Goku only comes around once in a lifetime, entirely disregarding the risk of murdering an amazing child on accident. Luckily for both of them, the full moon rose and Goku looked at it, turning him into an unstoppable Ozaru. Well, unstoppable to everyone except Master Roshi anyway. Roshi thinks fast and blows up the moon after Yamcha tells him that this happens to Goku whenever he sees it while it's full. This continues to establish Goku as a dominating force, but also reinforces Roshi as incredibly more powerful than anyone else around. So Roshi blows up the moon, which is an awesome feat and has some great drama and even a good scare to it as it's cut in a way to look like Roshi killed Goku. Narratively, this is some pretty good stuff, especially for an episode cliffhanger. Everyone has a moment of thinking Goku's dead until Roshi reveals that he's fine and naked. A few great moments of comedy here, including a hilarious moment of foreshadowing for the next tournament where the Wolfman shows up pissed at Jackie Chun for blowing up the moon. Goku, of course, pops up like a spring alligator, like he does, with no memories of what happened and seemingly just fine. We take a quick moment for everyone to calm down and Goku steals Krillin's Turtle Hermit school gi. Jackie has a quick moment with his thoughts, telling us he's tired after blowing up the moon, and immediately upon the fight restarting, Goku says he's still raring to go, but is then struck by his stomach rumbling. Goku has two weaknesses. Number one is his tail, but number two is his stomach. At this point in time, if someone grabs his tail or he gets hungry, he starts losing all of his power. This immediately tells the audience that Goku's starting to run out of steam too. This not only helps the audience understand that the fight's gonna come to an end soon, but also highlights Goku's weaknesses as obvious places for him to grow and mature. Roshi tries to take advantage of this and goes for a Kamehameha wave, but it fails because he's all out of ki. Goku makes a good point here, calling out that now Jackie can't return to the ring if he gets sent flying, showing his great skill of observation when in combat in its early stages. So he quickly fires a small Kamehameha wave at the ground to get Jackie to jump, hoping to take advantage of what he observed, but Roshi manages to save himself by a literal toe. He slams his foot into the side of the ring and stops himself just barely, even taking great pains to show the announcer and remain in the match. This shows his extreme determination to stop Goku from winning. So now, Roshi and Goku admit that they're all out of power and decide to end it with hand-to-hand combat, since that's all they have left in them. This is all about showing how even they are, in power, skill, determination, and so much more, but Roshi knows his experience should allow him to take the win, and after a knockdown, drag-out brawl where they stop to gasp every now and then, matching each other blow for blow, they're left winded, off balance, and exhausted. So Roshi uses his literal years against Goku, calling on his height to allow him a cleaner kick if they both go for it together. Roshi beckons him into a flying kick where Roshi's experience put in more work than ever. They nearly knock each other out and they start struggling to their feet, each getting eliminated by the countdown together. The announcer tells them that the tiebreaker is simply to stand up and declare victory as the champion. Goku gets up in a suspenseful, drawn-out shove to his feet, but before he can utter the last syllable, his legs give out and he collapses. Roshi immediately takes to his feet and claims the title as the champion, while still under the guise of Jackie Chun. All of that takes the idea of an even matchup where anyone can win to its farthest conclusion. This was entirely by design to equate Goku with Master Roshi. It was to show that Goku was already one of the strongest warriors on the planet, even just as a little kid, and part of Goku's character is to inspire both characters in the show and its viewers. Dragonball is a show about improvement through struggle, so the fight was one of the first ultimate struggles Goku would ever face, and although his goal as a character through the writer's perspective is to inspire others, this fight is what truly inspired Goku himself. This fight taught Goku a lot, from teaching him to mix up, deceive, and apply others' techniques more effectively, to even showing him what he should strive for in the future. Goku barely used any actual techniques through this fight, instead relying on his instincts and his wits to get him out of trouble. This feels like it just flashes by at about 3 episodes long, and while it's the longest in the 21st World Tournament, it's actually the shortest of the 3 we're about to talk about. It does a fantastic job of making the audience see Goku's place in the world, while showing Goku that he's only going to reach it if he keeps pushing himself, which is essentially the show's entire mantra. Thematically, this is one of my favorite fights in the series, and I'd easily give it a 10 out of 10. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but it really manages to hit lots of highs and leave you feel satisfied but hungry for more. Kind of like what Roshi did for Goku, huh? So thanks everyone so much for watching. If you liked this video, please leave a like and subscribe. If you agree, disagree, or otherwise don't think like a stone, please leave a comment and tell me what the thoughts in your head are, and I'll probably write some words about what the voices in mine say. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye. I'm begging you to put your
Hi, I'm Jim the Hollow, and you should like and subscribe to save 15% or more on your car insurance by watching more videos.
50 years I was alone, and when I am finally saved from that loneliness, all I find is horror. In this form, I am powerless, doomed to witness these atrocities. I need a body. I will have a body!
Wait, you seriously never noticed the exo body I left for you? Did you think I'd literally just leave you in a jar? What kind of monster do you think I am?